So, the CU News Corps documentary makers have had an experience in Cuba few Americans will ever have. In a place that's just 45 minutes by plane off the coast of Florida, but seems a much more distant world. The crew arrives home with hours and hours of video footage from their journey with Guillermo Vidal. Next, they have to figure out how to tell this immigrant story.
The latest version of it.
My parents made the unthinkable decision of sending their kids to the United States.
Called Operation Pedro Pan.
Adding the old Cuban scenes like the marching, it gives it substance.
Guillermo Vidal was part of every step in making the documentary about his journey.
Just give me a nice pause.
After about a month of being in the orphanage,
For the team, a clear theme and story was developing, and it had changed along the way.
We go from rough cut to focus group showing. We thought Cuba would be timely because we knew that President Obama was going there. We knew that American companies were starting to set up potential commercial flights in and out of Havana. And so that was a real draw for us last summer. But again, now as we've moved into 2017 and our political realities in this country have changed so much, Fidel Castro has died, that this story takes on even more importance and has a greater depth than it might have even just a few months ago.
It's an immigrant's story, coming from nothing.
It was 1961 when Guillermo was one of 14,000 Cuban children sent to the U.S. through Operation Pedro Pan.
It's an organization that had a huge weight on their shoulders of taking someone's most precious item, their child, and essentially rescuing them.
and then I realized that it was the most loving decision anyone has ever made for me.
Literally, he was a child. He was a powerless child when he came here, and now he became the highest position of power in Denver, which is remarkable and spectacular. I think what's important there is that every single person who comes to this country has a fighting chance.
Going back to all the places of my youth, the first time I did that, it was incredibly painful. It just brought back all those terrible memories. This time I felt more grateful. I felt like I am the person who I am because of those experiences, and they've served me well.
An emotion captured in this tricky-to-shoot waterfall scene, visualizing a rebirth of sorts for Guillermo and his home.
We had to, like portage cameras across this current, across this little stream, in order to get shots from both sides of the waterfall, and then having Guillermo come out Christ-like from the water was really a pretty fantastic sort of cinematic moment. Yeah. Guillermo's story is a real exemplar of how immigrants can contribute so much to our country, and that we need to think about that when we're making policy.
The way I think about this, immigration, whether it's political persecution, war, unlivable poverty, the drive to survive in a human being is stronger than anything else. So build a 50-foot wall, I'll build a 51-foot ladder. If that's what it takes for me to survive, that's what I'm going to do.
Guillermo is a refugee, and my parents were refugees. And right now, being an immigrant is a really hot topic. And there's a reason people leave their countries. There's a reason they come to the U.S. And we can't forget that. I mean, the U.S. was built on immigrants.
As they put the finishing touches on the documentary, this team says they hope their work will resonate.
I hope people look and connect with Guillermo as a character, as somebody that they see themselves in, of having difficult times in life but rising above it and making more of your life, and then thinking to themselves, oh, and he was an immigrant.
We hope that people see this film, understand that his story is certainly his story, but it can be applied to others, and the lessons that we can learn from it.
Maybe looking at us as humans rather than what our past is or where we come from. Underneath, we're all made of the same stuff.
The documentary Como Fue, loosely translated How Did It Happen, is on track to premiere in late spring in Boulder. It may also be shown in Orlando, Florida, as a fundraising event to help recent immigrants. Here's a sneak peek.
It'll be my first trip back to Havana in 15 years. Ready to experience something really great. Wonderful adventure in front of us.